welcome to the Love, Laugh, Live chat show with myself and the gorgeous Daf Ubi. Pyar karo, hasso ta juk juk jiyo wala show.
Our show is all about creating and guiding you on how to manifest a more fulfilling life that you deserve and desire, and how to raise your consciousness through loving, laughing and living.
Yes.
So my name is Devinda Ruby. I'm a life and spiritual coach, and sitting next to me, looking gorgeous as ever.
My name is, thank you Daf. My name is Gurdial Gacha and I'm an empowerment and resilience coach.
So Gertie, what is today's topic?
So today's topic is called the lighter and shadowy sides of being the black sheep. So what do we mean by that? So ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ black sheep in the family, ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਭੇਡ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਕਿਸੇ ਨਾਲ ਬਣਦੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੀ, ਕੋਈ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ, ਕਹੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਦੇ, ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਰੀਜ਼ਨ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਖਿਆਲ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ. So we're going to talk a lot more about that and why these things kind of happen.
So we all would recognize somebody we will perceive as a black sheep, even yourself. And,
or ourselves.
Ourselves, we feel like the black sheep is someone who is completely, their views and perceptions of the world is very different from their family, from their community, where they feel like they don't belong. They feel like they're not accepted, where they feel more isolated and alone, and they would be absolutely compelled to speak their truth and go completely against everybody's values and principles, but they, in a knowing, they know what they're saying is coming from a place of truth, and they don't live a life, they don't want to live a life where they're doing a pretense or playing, with a mask on. They just like to be authentic. But then obviously there's a part where people will be threatened by being the black sheep of the family, where they be seen as someone's rude, or someone's being disrespectful to the elders, because elders don't like some people to say why, kyon, they say you just have to go along with it. But that's what we're trying to talk about. You might recognize this already. Are you like a black sheep of the family, or you know somebody's like a black sheep of the family? I would consider myself as a black sheep of the family.
Yeah, myself too. So, like I said, like Dav's just explained it beautifully there. But ਅਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਥੋੜੀ ਜਿਹੀ ਡੂੰਘਾਈ 'ਚ ਜਾਣਾ ਹੈ ਇਸ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਬਾਰੇ ਵੀ what creates this kind of situation, what happens ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਖਿਆਲ ਸਾਡੇ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ 'ਚ ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋਗੇ, it could be something about any family thing, something to do with culture, something to do with our religion, anything, but we, being the black sheep, you'd question it. And sometimes unfortunately ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਕੁਝ ਪੁੱਛਦੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਆ ਕਿਉਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਆ ਕਾਹਤੇ ਹੁੰਦਾ, in our like parents and grandparents times ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਕਿਉਂ ਤਾਂ ਕਾਹਤੇ ਅੱਧ ਲੜਾਈ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ, because they never had the answer. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਜਵਾਬ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀਗਾ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੋਲ knowledge ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ to explain, or the patience to say ਪੁੱਤ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਸੀਗੀ. So the only answer you would get is ਚੁੱਪ ਕਰਕੇ ਬਹਿ ਜਾ ਆਰਾਮ ਨਾਲ, ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਨਾ ਬੋਲਿਆ ਕਰ, ਸਵਾਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਪੁੱਛੀਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ, ਸਿਰਫ ਇਹ ਸਾਡਾ ਸਮਾਜ ਆ, ਇਹ ਸਾਡਾ ਕਲਚਰ ਆ, ਇਹ ਸਾਡੀ ਸਦੀਆਂ ਤੋਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਪੁਰਾਣੇ ਜ਼ਮਾਨੇ ਤੋਂ ਤੁਰਿਆ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਹੈ. ਸੋ ਯੂ ਨੈਵਰ ਹੈਡ ਦੀ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੈ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਿਆਣੇ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨਿਆਣੇ, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਅਕਲ ਹੈਗੀ. ਬਟ ਦਿਸ ਇਜ਼ the wrong way of answering those questions. But ਅਸੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ blame ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ. We're not saying it's anybody's fault, ਕਰਕੇ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਕੁ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਸੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਸੀਗਾ. So we're not here to say that they did something wrong. ਜਿੰਨਾ ਕੁ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਸੀਗਾ, that's what we have to do. But ਹੁਣ ਗਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਿਆਣੇ, we know we can't say that to the next generation. We've got to be mindful of the language that we use. And so thinking about the black sheep, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਜੇ ਹੁਣ Dav's got lots of examples from when she was a child, and I have too, which we will bring into this. And sometimes it can be that you feel judged. ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਜਵਾਬ ਦਿੰਦੇ, ਕਹਿਣਾ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਬੜਾ ਪਤਾ ਆ, ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਅਕਲ ਆ, ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਸਮਝਦੀ ਆ. So even if ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੁਝ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਸੀਗੇ, even if it was right or something different, you were ridiculed. ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਤੇ ਹੱਸਣਾ, ਕਹਿਣਾ ਵੀ really she's not all there, she's a bit stupid and things like that. So ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਹੀ ਤੇ ਕੋਈ कोई कदर नहीं सी पेंदी. So even if you, so this is why you were the black sheep, because you weren't recognized for having any kind of knowledge or a different kind of thinking. You were people were trying to force you to kind of just shut up and not say anything.
Yeah, you just want to conform into their belief system, follow the crowd. And if you just think about, just get the image in your mind, if you see go into a farm and you see loads of the sheep, they're all white color, but there's one black one in there. So that always going to stand out more. And the other sheep will probably think that, oh, you're weird, you're not part of our tribe, our group. So that black sheep, even though it knows it is the same essence of everybody else, but being the black sheep, it will have to be stronger, it will have a different way of trying to survive in that group of white sheep. It's going to have a different way of thinking and behaving in order to just survive. But it has, like I said, there's two sides to what we're going to discuss. There's the shadow part that we might consider being a black sheep is a big burden, it's a curse. But then there's the light side where there's something unique, different, you're special. So obviously,
and it's a gift.
It's a gift. So being different, being the odd one out is actually a blessing. So if you just think about why it's called the black sheep, and so it is, you're born with that gift, and you may be here, you got something in you that you need to share, but it only takes courageous souls to share the truth when most of humanity just like to follow the crowd, and they're living in fear of being abandoned and rejected and all that sort of thing. So they just feel like they need to stick together, even though they might be following the wrong principles and not coming from a place of truth. But the black sheep will know it wants to express its truth, and might come across being rebellious and rude, but the black sheep will have the courage to speak the truth, and the truth what people are fearful of.
And being the black sheep, ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਖਿਆਲ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਆ ਬਾਕੀਆਂ ਨਾਲੋਂ, you know, as Dav said, you will speak your truth, but that comes at quite a big price. ਕਰਕੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਸੱਚਾਈ ਦੇ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਹੋ, you're being authentic, you're going to be pushed to one side and you're not going to be welcome. ਕਰਕੇ already you've separated yourself from the crowd, even though you don't want to be that. But ਜਦੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਕੋਈ ਸੁਣਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਸਮਝਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ, naturally you kind of draw away from the rest of the crowd because nobody understands you or respects you, and you feel isolated. So, you know, throughout that time in your life, for however long that lasts, you are going to feel judged, you're going to feel like you're isolated, you're going to feel lonely, it can make you feel down, and you know, people are going to talk to you in a way that's going to make you feel like ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, they're not of any value. And to overcome that, you know, going through that, it's a very, very painful experience. ਅਸੀਂ ਕਹਿ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕਦੇ ਵੀ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਇਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਲਾਈਫ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਛੋਟੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਤੋਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਲਾਈਫ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਦਰਦ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਹੋਊਗਾ from the people that you think are there to support you. They are the very people that will ridicule you, will laugh at you because you're different, and you're not willing to just maybe sit at home, watch whatever's on the television, and not have any kind of thoughts on what is actually going on around you.
Yeah, so
we can use these examples.
Yeah, so I always find that people, and we're talking from our own experience as well, we are okay to be alone. We like our space because maybe because we know we're conscious, we don't want to be influenced by the crowd, because the crowd is not really coming from a place of truth, it's coming from a place of fear, and it just wants to be accepted. So black sheep, they usually say they like their space and they're okay with it, they're not afraid of being alone. But at the same time, we're going to talk about the shadow parts, that some things would have led them to have those behaviors in them. Not all of them, everybody's going to be different, but when we're discussing them, you might be able to recognize, you know, this is something I went through, maybe I'm a black sheep,
or maybe I'm still going through it as well. I mean, I can use one of my examples, and I'm sure you've got plenty of examples. When I was younger, I used to sit in a separate room, not because I didn't like the rest of my family or I didn't feel like they loved me or anything, but I just felt at that time, and this has come up more because of this subject, I just felt like I couldn't talk to them about the kind of things that I was thinking and feeling. I know at that time when I was about 12 or that kind of age, I wanted to study, I wanted to get on, I wanted to go to school, college, and really learn, whereas I think the rest of the family at that time, you know, because if you think about it, when we were older, it was expected that you finished school, maybe went to college, and then you just got married. So there was nothing that you really needed to think about. But I remember thinking, I don't think that's what I want for myself at that time. So I know now through reading this that I was a bit of a black sheep because I was different. And I don't think my family actually, not because they were unkind or anything, but at that time they didn't even know how to support me because of what I was doing, my behaviours. I wanted to study, I wanted to learn, and I wanted to do well at school, and just for learning's sake, not necessarily to become somebody amazing or great, but that in itself created that kind of judgment, as though, oh, you think you know better than everybody else. But it's just the fact that I was willing to read and study more and like look into life a lot deeper than maybe they were at that specific time. Yeah,
similar sort of thing. I like my space, so if I wasn't interested in their normal mundane conversation, so if I went and did my own thing, or they used to think that I was being rude, I was being antisociable, that to survive in this world you got to interact in the conversation, the group. But I felt that conversation wasn't coming of value and I couldn't relate to it. So I was considered as someone being selfish and rude and who didn't care. But something in me is thinking, I just can't understand that conversation. It doesn't mean anything to me. But so these are some of the behaviours and the situations I can remember going through, and most people who are in the black sheep, something in them will not allow them to engage in that sort of circle of situation, friends or family. But you will have to deal with the consequence of it. But what we're saying is it's okay. The whole point of this whole program is for us to explain to you and support you in what you may be going through, if you're kind of feeling like, well, maybe I kind of resonate with this, being the black sheep, being the outsider, being isolated. But what we're saying is there is a lot of beauty in this, and you'll understand it'll all kind of come together towards, throughout the program. So these are the shadowy aspects of being a black sheep. So have a listen. So you're living out the black sheep archetype. Will look different for all of us. So like we said, everybody's different. So, what's universally true is that we are all probably, we find ways to cope with the pain early on. The pain of being isolated, being ridiculed, from a very young age.
Judged. So yes, it's coming from a very young age. You found ways to cope with the pain early on. So the ways of coping, which at one point probably served us extremely well, just to survive, to make it through that experience of being rejected, misunderstood, or feeling different. So if you imagine, that's what you would have been going through, or you may still be going through, and you don't even realize that people are judging you just because you're happy being who you are, but other people aren't willing to accept you for being the way you are. And this is where the pain and the rejection and things like that, and that will have an effect. So for example, we adapted these coping mechanisms such as rejection.
So you would have had something where you felt rejected, or you felt you were misunderstood, and sometimes that leads you to becoming the black sheep of the family. So this is what we're saying, the shadow parts is, shadow means it's not actually coming from a place of love. Something's happened negative that made us feel like a black sheep. So we're talking about two parts of the black sheep. There's a shadow part and there's a light part. So you could be in the shadow or the light. So it's just different ways of people, probably identify them as a black sheep. So the shadow part, if you are going through this, it still needs healing. That's what you're trying to say, that it's not something you have to live with this. It's just something we have adapted in order to survive. But we're only mentioning this now because if you're aware of this now, it's time to let it go and heal. Okay, so maybe you don't have to be a black sheep the rest of your life. It's just that you adapted to these circumstances where you were rejected. So let's say it's an example, the first one where you felt so rejected by your family and the origin, you sort of like walled off your heart, where you're thinking it's safer for me to protect myself, I'm going to put a barrier on my heart. So you never let anybody get close to you. So these are the shadow parts. Remember, I say it's time to heal this if you're aware of it. And you want to keep people at arm's length. You never want anyone to get too close to you. So if you're in a relationship, all of a sudden you realize this relationship's getting a bit intense, there's getting more emotionally attachment. Something will happen where you will find yourself getting distant because there's fear and you're thinking, no, I can't get myself too deep into this relationship. So this is where you struggle to maintain a healthy, romantic relationship, despite truly, even though part of you really longing for one, right? And the other part is fear of being rejected and abandoned. So these are also the shadow parts of a black sheep.
So the next one is comfort. So this is where, because you're feeling rejected and you don't feel like you belong within your family community, you're going to try and create some kind of coping mechanisms. And we all have coping mechanisms, whether we're aware of them or not. The most common ones are going to be with food. Either you're going to restrict food, so you're going to really control the amount of food that you eat because that's where you feel that you've got some control, or you might overeat, so you're going to eat more, so that void within your body where you feel like nobody cares and you feel rejected, so you eat more because you feel like something's not completely right. You haven't healed, so therefore you're going to eat food or drink or whatever it is to make yourself feel better, because you want to give yourself that tender loving care that you didn't receive at a younger age, and you're carrying this kind of behavior through because of how you feel, and this is where your health will suffer for it.
Yeah, so you're probably aware of somebody in your family who has these habits of just wanting to eat, just you want to suppress those feelings and pain. This is all surviving mechanisms.
Yeah.
So the other one we're going to go into, when you develop a deep sense of rage and resentment because you're treated so unkindly and unfairly, and this has pervaded your life and kept you in a state of chronic negativity and victimhood. We have a tendency where we don't know how to deal with the situation and we can't really express it because nobody's going to understand you. I see under Dublin now. So that
or we might have outbursts. I suppose.
Or resentment. Yeah. So we just suppress it, and we just feel, and obviously it has a negative impact on all your relationships later on in your life, and that makes you feel like nobody understands you. I'd rather just be on my own, keep everybody at arm's length. So these are, like you said, the shadow parts of where something happened when you were young that made you feel, that you probably didn't know how. When you're young, you really don't know how to deal with the gussa or the anger, because maybe we weren't allowed to get angry when we were young because we wouldn't get told off. So we end up, or resentment out in that, because the resentment comes that I couldn't speak my truth when I was young. I couldn't really say what I wanted to when I was young because fear of being obviously rejected and abandoned. So that puts you in a chronic negativity and victimhood, where you always feel like, some things, you always feel self-pity that life, didn't work in the way I wanted it.
And also, I think sometimes you may not even be aware that this is your pattern from a young age because of being a black sheep. I don't think I was aware of it until I was much, much older, because it's just something you're living through and it's just part of who you are. And it's only when you recognize, when you hear what we're talking about, that you might resonate with it and understand that this is, maybe this is me and this is what I need to work on in order to heal. And like we said, it's not anybody's fault. We're not here to blame anybody. What we're saying is it's about making people aware, and through this we always become more aware of what we've been through in order to heal ourselves, and we're all on this journey anyway. So the fourth one is these are coping mechanisms of being a black sheep. We lose trust. So early on, because people who we thought were there to accept us and love us and care for us, we feel like we don't trust anyone, because the people that we thought would give us that trust, they didn't. So therefore, we become the person that we were because of our circumstances. So this is something else that it then can impact all your relationships with people that are coming up. You feel like you can't trust people. You've always got this kind of thing in the back of your head, I'm not sure that I can trust this person. So this is something else that through your own self-healing, you can think, well, you know what, it's okay to trust people, but that's going to go over to the light side. We're just talking about the shadowy parts now. So the trust is a really big issue.
And that's going to affect all relationships, isn't it? From your partner, work colleagues, your neighbours, anyone, you're always going to have that
suspicion.
Trust issues. And obviously this is what we're going to talk about later on, is really about letting go of codependency and become more self-reliant. But we'll talk that in the light part of it. But this is another reason why, you know, black sheep, you can label yourself as that when you lose trust. So the other one is, like, conversely, maybe because of the absence of functional healthy parenting early on. I mean, that could also, you know, make you believe that you're a black sheep of the family when
you mentioned your mom, didn't you?
Yeah, so maybe, you know, you didn't get that love from your parents as you wanted. So it could be something similar. Like, that my mom, when mom gave birth to me, she was very ill. She wasn't there to take care of me. And obviously a child is born into this world but wanting mother's, you know, the nurturing affection and love. So for me, very, very, very young age, from the moment I was born, I didn't get that normal parenting care. And other people had to take care of me, or my dad when he could. So then what happens is, when you don't get that love from your parents, you want to sort of like compensate that through other relationships. You want someone else to nurture you, and then you don't realize through that behavior you want someone else to, you know, to attend to your needs. And that's what the shadow part is that we need to heal, and obviously I have been working on for most of my life. So that's only because a child, and every person on this planet, in this world, is always sort of like seeking love. It wants to experience love. It wants to be loved. It wants to be nurtured and taken care of. But when the mother's not there, it's like you don't get that healthy parenting in the beginning, then it does automatically seek it from elsewhere. But the problem is that it prevents you becoming self-reliant. You know, you
become over-dependent.
Yeah, you're putting pressure on other relationships for them to make you feel loved, because you're just trying to overcompensate what your parents didn't give you. Yeah,
I mean, going back to my life, you know, my mum had 6 children, and I didn't feel that, you know, that she had the time, and I know and I understand that, you know, she was in survival mode, and this is the result of how I felt, you know, the pain that I felt at that time of not necessarily being rejected, but not necessarily being felt included, and, you know, all the love and the nurture and all those kind of things that we desperately want and need, but we're not even aware that we need them. There was this, I'll just quickly mention, there was this experiment done by Bowlby, who tried with this monkey, and on one side there was the milk, and the other side there was this fur thing that represented its mum. Now that monkey would not go to the milk, it would only go to the fur that smelt like his mum, because that was what was bringing him comfort. He didn't really care whether he was going to live or die, because he didn't understand that milk was there to help him to survive. He wanted just that love, comfort, smell of his mum. And a lot of animals will go through that rather than you know, not being with their parent. They would rather die, and I suppose in some ways it's the same with human beings. We don't realize how much we actually want and need that love and nurturing from a very young age, because this is what happens as you get older. You become you treat people at arm's length, all the things that we've already mentioned, because of how you've been treated as a child. So, you know, maybe the 6th one is maybe you feel disconnected, isolated at all levels from others and from yourself. So this manifests as a deep sense of sadness and depression. So you have this like bairagi, which is what you've mentioned. You know, you don't feel like you belong on this earth because you've missed out, or you've never felt that connection from a young child, and you feel like you don't belong anywhere, or you've got no strong sense of connection with your family or community. This is what it can have, that really long-term impact on you. You may not even be aware, well, where has it come from, you know? And we've talked about all of that side of things. You know, these are just a few of the ways the pain, the shadow side may manifest as being the black sheep. So that's, something really important to think about.
Yeah, so we've gone through the shadow aspects of it. Now we're going to talk about, the light side of it, and actually we're going to explain to you actually it's a gift.
Even though you may
being
not feel
different,
it. Yeah.
It's a gift in here because it gives you the power of living with the identity of being the black sheep archetype. So we're going to go through these different ways to really explain to you why it's a gift to be a black sheep. And so the first one.
Before that, there is actually tremendous amount of opportunities.
Oh yeah,
and power.
Yeah, there is. And once we go through each of these different ways to explain, that you can see the amount of gifts we have through this, being a black sheep of the family. And it's nice to be odd, and it's nice to be different, and it's not about just following the crowd. It's really honouring your uniqueness. And so the first one, it gives you greater physical freedom. So when you feel or you're feeling rejected by your family or your community or origin, see, we can always, it's about perspective. There's the shadow part we were talking about earlier on, thinking that it was rejected, it felt unloved, right? It's always two perspective. So, and it felt like it wasn't needed, it wasn't important, it wasn't being understood, it felt abandoned, it felt rejected. Remember we said in the shadow part? Now you're thinking the light part of this, not the shadow, the light part of this, that when you are rejected from your family community, there is this freedom for you to, for you to strike out and explore this big world with no restrictions, where you can find your true home, because you're a black sheep for a purpose, because you are meant to find your true identity and your true home. And you become a leader, you become a role model for many people. So the place you want to set down your own roots, and create your own identity, and without feeling obligated to stay within the immediate, radius of your family or community of your origin. You have more freedom and the choice to go wherever you want. See, there's two sides to everything. So this is the light part of being rejected, that you now actually got freedom. And the other shadow part, thinking, I'm alone, nobody loves me.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a fantastic one. To have physical freedom, knowing that you're never going to be in that kind of controlling environment, whereas your siblings or the rest of your family might be sort of, even though they feel that they've been included, they haven't been rejected or judged or any of the things that you've felt, the pain that you've had to go through in order to come out on this side. They're the ones that won't have the same kind of lifestyle that you're now choosing to have. So again, physical freedom, if you can imagine, you're going to be able to do so many things that you would never have even imagined. And I think the biggest thing is the part of being courageous, being able to even think that far, because when you are dependent on your siblings or your mother, your father, and you do feel that love, it kind of becomes a bit of a cocoon where you don't want to leave that island because you're fearful of leaving it. Whereas because you've never felt it, you're almost like, well, what have I got to lose? Yeah. Because I don't feel that attachment, that strong bond. It can't get any worse than what I'm already feeling. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So we've both been through this. It's taken us out of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
We stepped out of the norm. And but the freedom we found and the magic we've experienced,
even though it's still scary,
I love it.
Yeah,
I love the adventure.
But what I'm saying is, even though it's still a painful. It's like, I feel like it's the the butterfly that goes through those stages before it comes out, and this beautiful. Well, we're very beautiful butterflies.
No, I think you just got to have so much passion inside you that it would enjoy the whole process of it. And like you said, without pain, there's no gain. But the fear always means that's exactly what you got to go for. If you're fearing about something, and you realize actually that is a sign, a signal, that's where you're going to get your growth.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, whatever journey we're all on, it is about taking the next step. And sometimes we become stagnant. And this is where, where you are in your comfort zone, where you feel, like I said, close, and you feel like, you couldn't do anything without your parents' permission or your family's permission. The other side of being the black sheep is you don't have those fears as much because you're willing, because you felt that deep, painful rejection. You don't feel that, you know what, I've got nothing to lose. So you will go out and maybe do something completely different that nobody else would have been willing to do. And also it just means, number 2 is you have an increased lifestyle choice. Now this is massive, whereas maybe your siblings or somebody else in your family would have just gone down the normal route, or the white sheep would have gone through following each other. So which is like, to be born, go to school, go to college, get married, have children, have a job. So that's it. That's the life, and they'll have the
what you're supposed to have.
Yeah. Just the normal, stepping stones that you would go through. But the black sheep, you're going to do something completely different. You're
not in that order. It's not in that linear order.
Exactly.
Non-linear. Yeah.
So this is where you've got an increased lifestyle choice. So again, like I've said, you're not beholden to your family, to the church, or to the Gurdwara, or your community. You're not going to follow their expectations, because from a young age, you never did. And you weren't liked or respected, or you were told to be quiet. So you don't have those kind of expectations. So you don't have to worry about that side. So now you've got a greater opportunity to create the life that you actually want. And that can be, this is what you truly want. You haven't got to be following the crowd, doing what everybody else has done. You're going to have this amazing opportunity to do something that really resonates with you as an individual. And that's got to be amazing. So you're going to be able to choose, you're going to be able to fully love what you want to do in terms of your work, how you dress, where you worship. You're going to be able to build your own community. Now, even though, saying this it must sound really scary, but at the same time, it is liberating. It's very liberating, because it means you can open a door. Well, you might have lots of doors that you're going to be able to walk through, as opposed to somebody who's just got to do everything, like Dav's just said, in a linear way.
So if we weren't the black sheep, we'll be just following the crowd and missing all these wonderful opportunities we're talking about. And like I say, I grew up, I was very religious at the time, because that's what my community and my family and culture, thought it was a normal thing to do. But something in me felt like something doesn't feel right. So I went away from, not religion, didn't come completely away from it. I went more into spirituality. So through spirituality, it made me actually respect all religions now equally. Then I was just following my own religion. And at the same time, it taught me, okay, all these religions, they talk about coming back to how to express love. That's all religion's sort of the main sort of message. But then if you think about love, doesn't even have a religion. This love, this formless energy, it doesn't have a religion. So what I'm trying to say here, that when you're a black sheep of the family, you have this inner knowing, this inner belief. And once we start following it, we start to feel the sense of liberation. You start to sense this feeling of freedom. And andro koi shakti aa jandi hai. You feel this power that you can express your truth and live this life where we're experiencing more joy, more things that come into our path that we can expand and share with the world. There is something magical about being a black sheep of the family. Like I said, once we just change our perspective and not follow the shadow part and see, let's see the light part of this. Why is this happening, and what is there for me to gain from being the black sheep of the family? So
yeah, definitely. I mean, another thing I was just thinking of when you said that, it just means you can be your authentic self.
Yes,
and I think so many people that we know or we come across, and in whichever capacity you want to call it, they're so afraid of just being honest because they're afraid of being judged. But the black sheep was judged right from day one, or right from a young age. So therefore they don't have to worry about that anymore, because they've discarded that kind of cloak, and now it's just I don't care what people think about me, because when I tried to be the way I was, people didn't accept me then. So I'm not really bothered. So there's that sense of freedom, and you can be authentic. And there's a really, really good way of looking at it. You can either, you're going to make a decision that I'm going to shine regardless, and the people that like me, care for me, love me will come towards me. But the ones who don't, I'm okay with that, because I've already experienced rejection and isolation or being judged. So I'm okay, because I've built up that resilience. I've become stronger through that adversity from a young age, through my family, my friends, the community. I've now changed in this, it's almost like a rising of a phoenix coming out of the fire, this amazing, beautiful bird. So this is what happens. So you have a potential for a greater sense of self, which you wouldn't have had you not have been the black sheep.
Yeah.
Even though you may, still be the black sheep, but this will still give you a stronger sense of self, and you'll be more independent, you'll be making decisions for yourself, and you won't put other people on a pedestal, you'll put yourself on a pedestal, because you'll realize that, actually, I'm important. I'm the person that I've got to answer to, because my family or my friends or whoever don't value what I'm talking about or how I feel and things like that. So therefore, I'm going to put myself on this pedestal, respect and value, love and care about myself. And I think that's such a big switch. So you've gone from being the black sheep to actually being this person that actually loves themselves so much, from being a light sheep.
Yeah. So the next, we can identify yourself as a black sheep as being the light part of you, is a potential for a greater, stronger sense of self. So when you're subtly or overtly rejected, if you are, you may be forced to develop more independence than your siblings or peers earlier on. So in a way, what we thought was going wrong, being rejected, it's actually made us become more independent. And that's what I mean. In any adversity, there's always a blessing. So where we felt rejected is only teaching us how to become more self-reliant. So this can dovetail with an increased capacity for a stronger sense of self if you've had to defend and assert yourself for a place in your family or community. So those who embody the black sheep of the family may often have more psychological scars than others. So that means those scars is still I won't say the scars something negative, they're just a reminder, it's something that you went through. And like
emotional
you said,
pain.
Yeah, emotional pain, but they left a memory, so you can always say, look, I went through that, but I've actually healed them and now seeing the lesson in that, because everything has a lesson. So what's this teaching you? When I ever felt rejected or abandoned, is only teaching me that I don't need those people in my life. I have my inner strength in me to move with self-respect, and like I said, put myself on the pedestal now. And this is giving me an opportunity. Otherwise, I never would have done it. If everybody supporting me from Choti Hundi, I would have been aware of that inner strength, that inner, the God state that I'm in, and to put myself and self-respect. I never understood what self-respect is if everybody else gave me what I wanted. So it just teaches you all these virtues. So like I said, the black sheep has to go through these challenges, but the challenges are actually opportunities to, connect with that inner greatness.
Yeah, so the fourth one is, when you become, a lighter sheep, is a greater sense of empathy and compassion. Because of the pain that you've experienced, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਦਰਦ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਛੋਟੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਜਦੋਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਕੋਈ ਹੋਰ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਦੁੱਖ ਆ, you have the capacity to actually feel their pain more than if you weren't the black sheep, because you've been through those experiences of being rejected, not cared for, not loved as much as you would like, or being judged. So you will have the capacity to be kinder, to be more compassionate, loving, caring, because you're willing to do that, because you don't want someone else to feel the way you did. So you will compensate, overcompensate, so that that person doesn't have to go through the difficult emotional pain, the deep scars, which you're now obviously healing from, but you don't want someone else to suffer that. So you consciously will make so much more effort with the people that you care about, so that they don't feel that depth of pain. So it's almost like you're saying, look, you know what, I'm here for you. because you know that people weren't there for you when you were younger, and even if they were, they didn't give you the love, support, care, attention that you desperately wanted or needed, or the nurturing that you needed. I sound bloody good, don't I? But yeah, so that's what we're talking about, and unfortunately, Dav and I have both experienced being the black sheep, so this is why we can talk about it from this aspect. So we can relate to other people's pain, the way it comes to us, and we don't want them to feel as upset or feel sad or depressed because of how other people have treated them. So it's almost like we're trying to, make sure that they don't.
Yeah, I think also the black sheep, there also will come to a realization that there is no other, and their pain is our pain. So if we really empathize with other people's pain, suddenly comfort milda.
Definitely.
And we're healing to just empathize with somebody else, because whatever pain they're feeling, we only recognize it because it's within ourselves.
Yeah,
so
that's a great point. That
yeah,
is.
And so
thanks for that.
High five, Korea. High five. High five. So when we empathize with somebody else's pain, actually we think we're comforting them, but it's actually healing us.
That sada dard.
So the more we empathize, the more we are healing and becoming more connected in alignment with Rab Dinal. So that's why being the black sheep is the greatest gift we can have, and to empathize with somebody. That's all I can say. That's what I feel.
Yeah.
So that's another great one of the virtues. So a unique opportunity to find a wolf pack. Okay, so when we're rejected or misunderstood by those we come from, we have the opportunity to own and use our voice and our deep sense of self-awareness to seek out those with whom we more closely identify and resonate. That's our story, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
These folks become our wolf pack, our family of choice, our urban family, a group that can love and cherish us in a way that our family and community or origins may simply not have the capacity to do so. But they were right where they were coming from, our family. They had to behave in that way. They needed to reject us. They needed to misunderstand us, they needed to disown us, because through that, it allowed us to become stronger and compelled us that I'm going to speak my truth, I'm going to become more self-reliant, I'm going to empathize more. So everything's working in our favor. So once you've understood that and let go of all our victim mentality story, that I was like this, I was brought up, my parents were around me and all that sort of. And if you feel any emotion around it, if you could talk about it with any emotion, that's fine. But if you could talk about it emotionally in this place of feeling sad and tears coming up or feeling heaviness, that means you're still holding on to the victim mentality.
But it's still healing, you're still healing.
Yeah, but then you can come to a place and you can actually talk about it. It's like, it's a wonderful thing that happened. No regret, no resentment, none of that's there. So then you've actually come into that state of really being the black sheep, where now you will attract the wolf pack because you're in the right vibration, right frequency to attract the wolf pack. You won't attract the wolf pack if you're still in that old state. So then when we attract the wolf pack, and then that's it, we have more opportunities, more adventures in your life, and wonderful things happen. And to be honest with you, that's what's happening with us now. The people we've attracted in our life, they're on the same page and we have the same sort of interest. And our interest really is about bringing love and joy through music, through song and dance, through entertainment. And that's our seva, to bring smile. And sana oddari sadi sangat there. The wolf pack is like our sangat.
So just to recap, if you are going through what we've started the show with, if you are, or you feel like, oh my God, I resonate with everything that we've spoken about, I'm the black sheep, my family don't understand me, I don't feel like I belong anywhere, I feel really upset by the way I've been treated and things like that, please try and understand that there is so much beauty in the pain and the suffering that you have been through, in order for you to be able to come through that on the other side and see that there will be so many benefits to your life, but you may not realize that because you're going through the black sheep side of your life. And this is where every experience that we do have, even though it's a really painful experience, that is going to be of some benefit to somebody else. And at the time, it's not something that we're even willing to consider or think about or even accept, because we're in a place of victimhood, or we feel like we're being neglected, abandoned, you know, all the negative stuff. But going from that, you know, as long as we understand that we don't have to stay in that victim space of negativity, we can grow, heal, and overcome all of those adversities in order to become the real person that we were always meant to be. And again, it's always a journey. You know, we're not saying that we're here, we've done it, we've arrived. That never happens, because these patterns of behavior or feelings will just bubble up again and again throughout different experiences that you have with different people. And they will keep showing up until you feel like, you know what, I'm okay with somebody saying or treating me like this, because I've experienced it at a younger age and I've grown so much from it. And when people say things which are unkind or they reject you, really they're rejecting themselves. And we can then come from a place of love and think, well, you know what, I'd like to help you, but we can't help anybody unless they're ready to want to be helped and they want to help themselves in the first place. Does that make sense?
It does. And I think another way is to recognize if you're a black sheep, like just simple things like, let's say, I'm going to a party, right? I know there's a wedding coming up. So I already know that, the type of family that I'm going to, they love wearing this bling, bling, bling stuff. And I would just generally think, I'm going to wear simple but elegant stuff. So already me thinking, I don't want to be like the rest of the crowd. It's just happening unconsciously. And I'll find out I want to wear something that's just doesn't...
More you.
Yeah, more me.
Yeah.
But if then I could be going somewhere where they'll all be wearing plain and I'll wear something bling. I just got to... I think it's innate in me that I always feel like I'm okay to look different. It's safe to look different. It's safe to
be who you are.
To be who you are, and it's to stand out. There's nothing wrong with it, and so those sort of things.
Even saying that, it's not necessarily wanting to stand out. It's you honouring who you are. You're because you were rejected, similar to myself, or whatever was happening in your childhood. But now you feel okay with people not being okay with you. Does that make sense? So therefore, why not? That is liberating. What you're talking about. Just going to a function, dressing exactly. I mean, obviously, you're not going to turn up in your pajamas, but
good.
But you feel okay, whether people judge you with what you're wearing or not. And I think that's amazing. That is authenticity, and that is coming over to the light side after being through everything you're talking about.
I think if we're having, like Jitahun, we're sitting in a group of friends or family, mainly family, and family always family again, and so we're having a conversation, everybody's agreeing. Let's say they're all thinking, Babura or something. I'll probably be the one to say, actually, you know, I don't think it's that bad. Actually, see, this is quite interesting. It's quite good. So I find myself being the odd one out, having a completely different opinion. But that's something, it comes. But I don't fear of being judged, thinking, well, how come you're thinking different? And everybody's saying black, 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 and you come out and say white. But that's not me trying to be awkward. It's not me trying to trying to damp. I just feel this instant with the truth,
your perspective.
My perspective.
And that's okay.
Yeah, but it comes naturally now. Before Choti and there was times when I would say it and I used to get told off for it.
Yeah.
You know, thinking you being rude, you know, the Sochna Jeda before you say something. And so you used to get judged for that.
But I think I think it all depends on the people who were there. You know, just imagine, you know, you're the person that comes up and says something completely different. So out of the 10 people, imagine, 50% of them hopefully would welcome what you're talking about, and 50% might not. But that's okay, you know. But at least at the end of the day, you've said what you felt was necessary at that time. You know, even if it wasn't necessary, but it was your view. And you want to, because at the end of the day, the way I look at it is we're not robots. And, you know, if you're having a conversation about something, it makes it more interesting if people are having opposite views. We have opposite views. That's what the beauty of our friendship, that we don't have to agree on stuff, and it makes it all the more colourful, you know, and interesting, and we're learning from each other all the time.
But if we agreed on everything, it'd be boring. So we don't learn off each other.
But again, that for me, it's variety is the spice of life. But again, it is all about the people who are listening to you. And if they're coming from a place of judgment or, you know, thinking, well, who does she think she is and stuff like that, well, they themselves have got a lot of growing to do.
But it's not about the other people. It's not whatever they want to think. It's about you honouring your truth. It's never about the other person, because something in you, this feeling that I'm not speaking my truth, that makes it feel very uncomfortable. So just to let go of that, you just speak your truth. You're not doing it for anybody else. Every time you're doing it for yourself. That's the most important thing. Yeah. Being authentic.
Being comfortable.
One. Yeah.
And being out of your comfort zone.
Again, another wonderful show. We love doing this, and thank you so much for listening. And we're always on YouTube as well. Please listen to any of the the episodes you've missed, and make notes, and contact us here on Kanshi TV. So
or on Facebook or on Instagram. Yeah. And we're the Love Laugh Live ladies.
Pyar karo haso te juk juk jiyo wala show.
So thank you so much, and we'll see you soon. Take care.